Hey, are you planning to buy or sell in the Twin Cities somewhere in the next year? Well then stay tuned, this video is the exact one for you. Today we're going to talk about relevant real estate trends in the Twin Cities. Hey, if you're new to the channel, my name is Chris Mosier, and I've been a licensed real estate agent for almost 20 years here in Minnesota. People hate intros, so we're just gonna get right into it today, where I'm gonna show you and talk about what's going on in our market. So first and foremost, doesn't matter what you've seen on Zillow, what you've seen online, what you've seen on the East Coast or the West, real estate is always hyper local. So for here in Minnesota, across the nation, we've been seeing interest rates start to stabilize. They're between like roughly 6.5 to 7, a little bit lower if you have like a VA product or something as a veteran. But in general, there's a lot of talk that that's going to continue to come down and kind of balance out as we get into a more normalized economy in the coming years. There's also been a lot of talk that that's going to finally start to come down for interest rates on a more consistent basis as we are getting better metrics and numbers for our national inflation. Now, locally here in Minnesota, it's a pretty balanced market. According to the latest statistics, which were released by Redfin at the end of May that tracks some of the national data for this, Minnesota specifically is a seller's market, but not by a whole ton. It's just about 8% more buyers than sellers. Now, all things considered, that's really balanced. Compare that to parts of California and Las Vegas and parts of Nevada, where right now they have 47 to 52% more sellers and the market is flooding. It continues to show that Minnesota is a desirable place that has a relatively stable market. Now, across the Twin Cities, we're seeing a median home price between $380 and $425 in most of the broader sense of the Twin Cities metro for a single family home. So that's the current metric. About every $10,000 to $15,000 you go up or down in that price point, you end up in a different market with different levels of competition until you reach roughly luxury. I've been talking for a while on this channel. The values for Minnesota continue to go up. Not huge dramatic shifts like we saw during COVID, thankfully, because that's unsustainable to any market. But from last year, again, it's up another 5%. So broad general terms, you bought a home at 500, it's gonna be worth 525 the next year, following metrics of this nature. Now, what does that mean for both sides of the fence? Well, as buyers, you still have to be determined, you still have to have a strategy. Things have cooled a bit in the sense that people are not necessarily required to, give naming rights to their firstborn child and waive all their inspections. But as I mentioned, the closer you're getting to that median home price, because you're getting first-time home buyers, people that are relocating and maybe trying to start small while they figure out how they fit and feel about Minnesota. People that are possibly downsizing, that found something with little to no stairs and still falls into that bell-shaped curve of starter/median homes. The median home price, the one that is the most common across all the price points, continues to be the hardest market to compete in because you have the greatest pool of available buyers. So you need to be pre-approved up front. You've got to have a clear conversation what your limits are for price point and monthly payments. And agreeably, if you have the ability to have a larger down payment or to tighten up some of your terms, that's going to be necessary for the competition. Now, for sellers, that doesn't mean you can just overprice it, throw it on the market, put a sign, it's going to be good. Because buyers have been feeling some of this fatigue from the last 4 or 5 years, waiting for things to come to a more normalized, stabilized point, they're selective. And if it's a good home, priced correctly according to what the market will bear and surrounding comparables offer, you're in a good spot. Like, that's still going to sell relatively quickly for top dollar. But if it's not updated, if you've got repair issues, if you've vastly overpriced it, looking at 2-3 years ago's market and saying, hey, it doesn't matter, you still have to pay attention and you still have to do it right. Now, let's talk about some hot neighborhoods, and now that we've moved on from our general context. So point number 2, there are some places right now that are hotter than others. Like I said, everything is local in any sort of real estate conversation. So right now, look at St. Paul, Mac Groveland, Highland Park. They have really good walkability. They're really close to a lot of the older, late even 1800s to early to mid 1900s locations where they set up a lot of the culture and the infrastructure around nightlife and restaurants. So there's some really cool spots like that that continue to just fly off the market. If you're looking for something more Minneapolis-based, Northeast has been on the come up for a number of years here, building a lot of new apartments, a lot of new places for people to eat and hang out. And it continues to be kind of like the artsy vibe to our Twin Cities. But in suburbia, oh my gosh, well, my native Lakeville continues to be a wealth of opportunities for new construction. So does Woodbury, which has done, in my opinion, a better job than Lakeville, putting in the surrounding infrastructure of places like Costco and your shops and your nighttime activities and retail. But even Edina just released a statistic earlier this summer. Their median home price is now over $700,000. I know, let that sink in. But with cities like that are centrally located, golf courses, shopping centers, malls, all sorts of good restaurants and dining, and they're in such demand for their schools and continue to have almost nowhere to build, places like Edina continue to be amazing fits that just everything kind of flies off. So again, in any of these areas, there's always opportunity even in a competitive market, but like some of these, yeah, they're really in demand right now. Point number 3, renters and investors. So again, broad strokes, 2-bedroom units across the Twin Cities right now. The median price for rentals is $1,550, so $1,550 on average. That scales up or down accordingly depending on age of building, location, amenities afforded therein. In general, we're seeing higher rents for Class A buildings, and we're seeing more of those being built. Class A, as it refers to apartment complexes and commercial buildings, simply refers to the age, the newness, and how well built out a building is. The older a building is, typically the more maintenance it requires, lower the class. But if you go to places like St. Louis Park and Edina and Plymouth, like you're seeing a lot of new apartments being built, and they're being built with like pools and terraces and barbecues and all this just like cool stuff that, you know, again, there can be a season where renting also makes sense. And for a lot of the buyers that would have been in the market the last few years, especially the ones that maybe were trying to come in during COVID of 2020 and 2021, where competition was insane, a lot of cash offers were winning out, you know, they probably stayed put a little bit longer. But that also means that, like I said, in every market there's opportunities. I've been working a lot more with investors that are buying duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, 8-unit buildings, seeing the need for more rental opportunities and having a chance to increase cash flow and create family generational wealth is always a plus in markets that have quite a few people wanting to rent. Especially if you can get these along the Green Line or anywhere past University, U of M for student housing, you will always be in demand. So, crystal ball. What's coming in 2026? What's coming for the end of the year into the next year? Because as I record this, it's the first week of August, and truthfully, especially here in the Twin Cities, we are exceptionally seasonal. You can buy, you can sell any time of the year, and there's a market. But most of the people that do it, they do it between the end of February, early March, and the end of July. So really, we're kind of already starting to forecast into 2026 and saying, what's that next spring gonna look like? Well, as we're getting more in alignment with what the Fed is doing to stabilize the rates, and again, never a political statement, but Chairman Powell is retiring in spring of next year. There is a lot of conversation that as he leaves, that will finally be the push to start lowering the interest rates, getting mortgages to be a bit more affordable. Now, the thing with that I always warn people is you can always refinance the rate. Never buy a house just because it's a high rate or a low rate. But if you're already on the fence and thinking of doing this, it may make sense to try to lock in a price now and then refi for the long term afterwards. Inevitably, and I've seen it continuously over the 20 years I've been doing this, as the rates go down, competition spikes because more people now find it to be more affordable and they want to get that interest rate. But what's really the difference if you have to pay $20,000, $30,000 more for the same house? So again, always consult, always understand your numbers, but something to plant the seed around. So along with that being like the really big driver that we're kind of waiting to find out more about, people are gravitating more towards eco-friendly homes. Solar is becoming more affordable and coming into more of the conversations in some of the communities that we've looked into. And then I think we're also, as a state, as a Twin Cities metro, we're trying to increase more of the transit available opportunities. It's still tough in some of the suburbs, but finding areas that have a greater walkability and have ability for public transportation continues to be part of the conversation we're all having. All right, guys. Well, that's all I got for you for now. I'll continue to keep you updated on all this nerd stuff. By the way, I do respond to every message you guys ever send. I love it when I see calls from numbers I don't recognize, people out of state just asking questions. I am never too busy for you, and I'm always here to be a more contextualized resource than just a talking face on a screen. So if you have questions, reach out to me. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed my real estate rants as always. Have a wonderful day, evening, or afternoon, wherever you are. I will catch you at the next one. See you guys.